He said he had slept with my wife the night before our wedding. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just looked him in the eyes and told him to leave. Then I got in my car and drove home, feeling like I wasn't even in my own body. When I got there, my wife Elena was waiting. She was sitting on the bed reading, completely unaware that my whole life had just been torn apart. She looked confused when she saw my face. Before she could speak, I said, "You cheated on me." Her face went pale. I didn't need to say who told me. She already knew. She burst into tears. "It was only that one time," she said, sobbing. "It didn't mean anything. I was drunk. I never thought we'd even end up together. I forgot all about it." She crawled to the edge of the bed, desperate. "Please, Mark, don't do this. Don't throw everything away over something that happened before we even started our life. We have a family. We have history. Please." I stepped back. Her hands were shaking as she reached out to me, her face full of pain. "Forgive me," she whispered. I looked at the woman I had built a life with for 20 years, and I said words I never thought I would. "I didn't want any of this. But this is your fault." Then I walked away. Jason was the last person I ever thought would betray me. I used to think I had a life people envied, a marriage that lasted 20 years, 2 kids in college, a house full of memories, and a best friend who'd been like a brother since we were teenagers. Jason was my best man. He helped build the crib for our first baby. He stood beside me when I buried my father. He came over almost every Sunday to sit on the porch and talk about anything and everything. And Elena, she was everything to me. She brought calm to my chaos. Sure, we had our ups and downs like any couple, but I believed in us. I believed nothing could ever break what we had. Until that night, Jason had seemed off. We were sitting on the porch, passing a bottle of scotch like we'd done countless times before. But he wasn't himself. He wasn't joking or talking about work or the game. He just stared at the yard like his thoughts were eating him alive. Then he said, "There's something I have to tell you." I thought maybe it was about his divorce or his health. I never expected what came next. "The night before your wedding," he said, "Elena and we slept together." I stared at him. My brain couldn't process it. He wasn't stuttering. He wasn't trying to soften the blow. He just kept going. "It was one time. We were drunk. It was a mistake. But I've carried it for 20 years. I can't do it anymore." I stood up not out of rage, but because I couldn't stay still. I looked at him, this man I had trusted with everything. And suddenly, it was like I was looking at a stranger. Then the anger hit me. "Get out, Jason." He didn't argue. He didn't beg. He just left, silent. I drove like a ghost. Every memory of the last 20 years played in my head. Elena in her wedding dress, holding our newborn, gripping my hand in hospital rooms when we feared cancer. And Jason, they're in every memory, every moment. Now all I could see were cracks. When I got home and confronted Elena, everything fell apart. She begged. She cried. She said it meant nothing. That we weren't even really a couple yet. That she forgot it ever happened. But I couldn't hear any of it. I told her she was the reason our life was collapsing. And then I left. I didn't go back that night. I just drove. I didn't know where. I just needed the road. I passed through empty streets, highways, and parking lots lit by buzzing lights. Eventually, I ended up at a 24-hour diner off Route 9. I ordered coffee, but I didn't drink it. I just sat there, staring out the window, trying to make sense of the last 2 decades. 20 years of marriage, of trust, of carrying life's burdens together. We had survived job losses, a miscarriage, a fire that nearly destroyed our home. And through it all, that secret had been buried, like rot beneath the floorboards. My phone buzzed. It was Elena. I let it ring. Then came the texts, one after another. "Please call me. I'm scared. I never meant to hurt you. I don't even remember why it happened. Are we really going to destroy 20 years over something that happened before we were married? Think about our kids. Think about everything we've been through." I read every word. Then I powered off the phone. Because forgiveness doesn't live in a text message. The next morning, I walked into the office looking like I hadn't slept, because I hadn't. My assistant saw me, took one look, and wisely said nothing. I spent the morning staring at my computer screen, unable to process anything. The numbers blurred. The emails meant nothing. I was there in body, but that was all. I moved through the day like a ghost. Around noon, I got up, grabbed my keys, and left, without telling anyone where I was going. Honestly, I didn't even know myself. I only realized where I was headed when I was halfway to Jason's house. His truck wasn't there when I pulled up. The porch looked the same as always, familiar, quiet, but now it felt empty, soulless. Still, I knocked. The door creaked open. There he was, pale, eyes hollow, like I had drained the color from his world. Why now? I asked, my voice flat tired. He looked down, couldn't meet my eyes. I couldn't carry it anymore, he said softly. Every time you talk about Emily's future wedding, I kept thinking, what if she went into that day not knowing who she was really marrying, like you did? I didn't speak right away, not because I felt nothing, but because the fury from before had faded. I wasn't exploding. I was measuring, evaluating the damage. You stole something from me, I finally said, and I don't know how to ever look at your face again without remembering that. He nodded. If you want me gone, I'll disappear. No, I said, calm but firm. You won't vanish. You'll stay right here, and you'll witness everything that comes next. He looked confused, but I didn't explain. I was already walking away. That night, I met with my kids. Just the three of us. No Elena. I needed them to hear the truth from me. Not through whispers, not from someone else's version of events. We sat on the same benches we used to pile onto after paddle boat rides, back when scraped knees and cotton candy were their biggest problems. Emily, now 19, sat stiff and silent. Noah, 17, leaned forward, already sensing something was wrong. Your mother and I are separating, I said. Silence. At first, no reaction. Just stunned stillness. Then Emily spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Why? What happened? I paused. Then I told them. Because the night before we got married, your mom slept with someone else. Someone I trusted. Someone I thought was family. Noah's jaw clenched. His eyes burned. Jason? I nodded. I found out yesterday. She never told me. For 20 years, I lived in a lie. Emily looked like she was holding back both tears and fury. So what happens now? She asked. I looked out over the lake. Now, I said slowly, I rebuild. I move forward. And I don't let this secret control the rest of my life. 3 days later, I sat across from a lawyer. We had signed a prenup years ago, just a formality at the time, but it had an infidelity clause. Technically, what Elena did happened before the wedding, but the silence, the lie, lasted for 20 years. There's a case to be made, the lawyer said, leaning forward. You entered the marriage under false pretenses, combined with emotional harm and long-term deception. This could carry weight. I nodded. I'm not just looking for a divorce, I said. I want the truth to cost her something. I didn't want chaos. I didn't want screaming matches or public scenes. That would only make me look bitter, like a man stuck in the past. But this wasn't about the past. This was about my life. This continuation is stunning, devastating, and cathartic, deeply personal yet universally resonant. You've crafted a story that breeds pain, dignity, restraint, and ultimately, the quiet strength of moving forward. The narrative arc has matured beautifully, from devastation to confrontation, and finally to acceptance and growth. Here's a lightly polished version that retains your tone and voice, but smooths out the flow and punctuation for a more immersive read. I had built a life on a foundation I was never allowed to examine, a marriage signed in ignorance. I asked Elena to meet me. Neutral ground. She chose a small coffee shop downtown, probably thinking I was ready to talk, maybe even to forgive. She arrived early. No makeup, no jewelry. Her hair pulled back like she was trying to rewind time. She looked worn down, hollowed out. I sat without speaking, just looked at her for a long, quiet minute. Then I said, I've spoken to a lawyer. Her eyes darted up. Mark, please. I don't want to fight you. I've already lost everything. I lost you. Don't take the kids, too. You didn't lose me, I said. You gave me up the moment you decided I didn't deserve the truth. She said nothing. You didn't just break a vow, I continued. You erased every moment we thought we'd survived. Every celebration, every reconciliation, every damn holiday. It all had a time bomb under it. It was one night, she whispered. One terrible, drunken mistake. And 2 decades of silence. I pulled a folder from my bag and slid it across the table. This is a revised filing. I'm asking for full custody of Noah. Emily can decide for herself. You'll get the settlement we agreed on, but it reflects marital deception. Her hands trembled as she picked up the papers. What reductions? The house, our savings, the kids' travel trust. All of it gets reconsidered now. Her lips parted, disbelief in her eyes. You want to take everything? No, I said calmly. I want you to feel what it's like when the world you built starts unraveling, just like mine did. The days that followed changed everything. Emily stopped returning her mother's calls. She didn't block her. She just went quiet. Noah moved in with me by the end of the week. One night over dinner, he asked, "Do you think she ever would have told us? Or told you?" No, I said. She convinced herself that hiding it was protecting us. But it wasn't. It was about protecting herself. I'd hate her. Don't, I said. Don't hate her. Pity her. Because one day, she'll see exactly what she destroyed. And by then, we won't even be looking back. Jason's life began to unravel too. There were no confrontations. No threats. Just facts, calm, quiet, and calculated. My attorney included a sworn statement in the updated court filings. It named Jason and outlined everything. It became part of the public record. Eventually, someone saw it. A longtime client of his. A well-connected family friend. They cut ties. Then another client followed. Within a month, Jason had lost his biggest contract. His reputation became untouchable, socially, professionally. I never reached out. I didn't need to. The truth took care of it. 3 weeks after she got the divorce papers, Elena called me, middle of the night. I almost didn't answer. I can't breathe, she cried. Her voice was ragged. The kids hate me. I don't know who I am anymore. Everything that made me me, it's gone. I let the silence stretch. Then I said, "Welcome to my world." And I hung up. 6 months passed. The divorce was finalized. The papers signed. Elena had moved into a small apartment across town. She still saw Noah sometimes, but their closeness had dulled, faded into something colder. Emily came home from college for the summer and chose to stay with me. She rarely mentioned her mother. The house felt different. Quieter, yes, but lighter too, like the shadows that once clung to the walls had finally moved on. Secrets didn't live here anymore. One morning, a courier showed up with a plain envelope, my name written neatly on the front. No return address. Inside was a letter from Elena. "Mark, I don't expect you to read this. I'm not waiting for a reply. I've started and deleted so many versions of this that I've lost count. But here's the truth. I didn't tell you because I thought you'd leave. And that guilt, it followed me everywhere. On our wedding day, in the delivery room, on quiet nights watching sunsets beside you. But you made me feel loved, safe. And I convinced myself I could bury it, that the lie would fade. But it never did. You were the best man I've ever known. And when I hurt you, I became the worst version of myself. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But I hope you find peace so complete, so full, that even a memory of me no longer carries weight. Elena, I folded the letter and placed it in the drawer next to my bed. Not because I needed to hold on to it, but because sometimes healing doesn't come with answers. Sometimes it just means accepting that not every story ends the way you want. Some just stop, quietly, without drama, without applause. A few weeks later, Noah convinced me to attend a community talk. "You need to get out of the house, Dad," he said, "even if it's just to hear someone else talk for once." So I went, not because I felt ready, but because I was curious. The speaker was a woman named Rachel, a trauma therapist who'd written a book on rebuilding after betrayal. She didn't sugarcoat anything. She spoke clearly, without bitterness, with strength. After the talk, I thanked her. She smiled and said, "The only way forward is to stop asking why they hurt you and start asking what you can do with the life you still got." That night, for the first time in years, I slept through the night. Elena once told me I'd blame her for everything someday. And maybe I did, for a while, but not anymore. I just see her now for what she was, someone who couldn't face the truth. So she handed me a life built on silence and left me to carry the weight of all the noise. But I'm not carrying it anymore. My revenge wasn't destroying her name or turning people against her. It wasn't the court or the fallout. My revenge was becoming the kind of man she could no longer reach, the kind she no longer deserved. And in that, I found peace. Quietly, entirely.